What's up, guys? Today we are going to be working on the 05, and what we're doing today is replacing this outer tie rod in. I've done some tie rod videos before, but not a Grand Prix specific one. So this is what's going on, so I'm going to show you. The first thing that I've already done is I have lifted or jacked up this corner of the car, put a jack stand under it for safety because you never want to be under a car without one, and then taken this wheel off. Now, the part we're going to be replacing this with this time around is this, which is a Moog part. This is how it comes. This is the box. If anyone wants to know what the part number is for that, there you go. Moog, in my experience, has been pretty decent stuff for the most part. I got a pretty good deal on this one at Rock Auto, a little cheaper than what I could get it for locally. This is how it comes. I don't know why, but for some reason this particular one came with 2 cotter pins. We probably don't need that. It comes with a new castle nut for the bottom here. It comes with a new jam nut, which I am not going to use. I'll show you why in a minute. It comes with this washer, which I'm assuming is for the bottom because that's the way that one is. And this Zerk fitting for being able to grease it afterwards. So the first thing that we're going to do, other than I'm going to put this Zerk fitting loosely in here just to keep trash and stuff out of this since I'm working in the dirt. We're going to take this one out. This is really easy to do. And basically, you're only going to need a couple tools. So the big thing though is you're going to have to align it after you do this. And the closer to factory you can get it in the meantime, the better off it's going to be. So the reason why I don't use this jam nut, if you take a 22mm wrench, you can go ahead and pop this jam nut barely loose, then snug it back to it. That gives you a stopping point, so you're going to know where that tightens to normally. The next thing you have to do is remove this cotter pin down here, which is pretty easy. You use either some needle nose or side cuts or something like that. You're just going to have to probably push that through like that, no problem. Also, just so happens, this is a 19mm, which is the same as the wheels. So I already have that on just this battery powered 1/2 inch. You take those off. I like to keep them in case I need them for something else later. Then, if you take a hammer and hit it right here, this should pop loose. Try to avoid hitting it down here and trying to knock it through, especially if you're removing it for another reason, because you can tear this up and get it to where you can't put it back. In this case, it's not as big a deal since I'm not putting it back anyway. Once you pop it through like this, if it's not seized or rusted very badly, it should turn freely. The other thing that you're going to do to try to make sure you're putting it back exactly the same is we're going to count the number of turns when we take it off. So I got 13 full turns before that came off. We're going to take the new one, and before you count one, make sure you've actually got it to grab a thread. So it's going to be 1, then make sure it's on there, then. Now, if this part is fairly close to the same as the factory one, you should come out very close to this jam nut. This one comes out not quite all the way snug to it, but very close. So I'm just going to snug the jam nut up to that and stop at 13, which should be fine. Then you're just going to put this back in here, and this is another place to double check, because if that's way off and not lining up, you know you probably have not put it the correct number of times on there. Then the bottom is just going to be the washer followed by the castle nut, like so. I'm going to snug it a little bit with this. Then you just want to make sure your castle nut lined up with the hole that goes through, which this one did. Take your cotter pin, stick that through there and bend it down so it can't come back through. That just keeps the nut from being able to come off. Then you're going to need a very small wrench to snug. Most of your Zerk fittings are 7s or 8s. The one that came with this one is a 7. And don't go crazy putting that in, because that's not a very strong piece, and you can snap that pretty easily. Now, once you got that tight, the only thing left to do here is snug this a little bit more, just enough that it's not going to come loose while you're driving it. that way. And then you want to center the joint. So once you've snugged this, you want to grab whatever you need to grab and just turn the tie rod to where it's in the middle. You don't want it jacked all the way to one side. Now I'm just going to grease it, and the rest is history. It's just putting the wheel back on and putting that back together. And don't forget, you can snug it with that slightly, but always torque the wheels back with a torque wrench to 100 foot-pounds. That's it, one more in the books. The 05 is getting closer and closer to being a decent car every day. If you learned anything from this, make sure you hit the like button down there. It helps my channel grow. Also, share the video if you think anyone else would want to see it. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel and hit the notification icon, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.